Hello, my name is Colby Sharp. I am a fifth grade teacher in Michigan. Welcome to my channel where we try to help kids fall in love with reading. And one way that we do that is by putting a lot of books in front of them and giving them a lot of books to choose from. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Some of the books that I'm adding to my classroom library. We get $250 in my district, all kindergarten through fifth grade classrooms every year to spend on our classroom library. And I'm so thankful that we get this money. And I know not all schools do. I would even go as far as to say most schools, most classrooms do not get much, if any, money, dependable yearly money for their classroom library. And if we're going to expect teachers to have a strong classroom library because we want kids to read, because we want them to be successful, because we know how important reading is, we have to provide money in our budget for that to happen. It's imperative, it's vital. You cannot expect a teacher to fund their classroom library all by themselves, or go to garage sales, or go to Goodwill, or scrounge and beg and borrow and steal to build their library. So I'm very thankful that I am in a district that helps us provide books for our students. And what you're going to see today is the money, man, it disappears quickly. I get with the $250 that I get, I'm allowed to use it at any point during the year. So I could buy the books before school started and have $250 to add to my classroom library. And if I was a new teacher or I new to a grade, I might do that. I've been teaching fifth now. This is coming up on the end of my 6th year in fifth. So my classroom library is pretty strong. So my students, when they come into my classroom in the fall, they have a lot of books that are new to them. They have a great classroom library, I feel, with a lot of books, all different kinds of books. So I actually don't spend any of the money until I get to know my readers. And right after winter break this year, I spent $100 of the $250. And now I spent here with just a little bit of time left in the year, I spent the last $150. And those are the books that I'm going to be talking about today. In a normal non-pandemic year, I probably would have all of the money spent by spring break. But this year has just been wild and nothing is normal. So without further ado, these are the books that I spent $150 on for my classroom library. Thank you to my school district. The Land of Stories. Always a popular series in my classroom, and I noticed that I don't have all of the books. I'm missing, I think, 2 of the books in the series. So let me show you one other thing really quick. I keep a list that's just like on my desk. It's got like the little push pin and it's on the wall, so I see it anytime I sit down. And whenever a kid's talking or I notice a book in a series missing, I just write it down. And then I'll highlight it when I buy it, or if I decide maybe I don't want to buy it, then I'll just cross it off. So I need to update my list, but that's how I knew that I was missing Land of Stories books 1 and 4. Well, you got to have the first book in the series. So I figured the other ones were also looking kind of ratty, so I just bought the set. And that took up quite a bit of my money, but these I know will be read and read and read. Also, we do not have the new book in Andy Griffiths and Terry Denton's Treehouse series. This is the 130-story Treehouse. I know it's going to be wildly popular, and I wanted 2 copies so that everyone could get a chance to read it before the year ended. It's so good. I actually probably will take one of these home to my own kids this summer because I have a lot of Treehouse fans of my own children that are my own chest. So next up, Save Me a Seat. I haven't read this book in a while, but I was looking for it when I think I wrote it down on here too. Yeah, Save Me a Seat. I wanted to give it to a kid because they were reading a book and they liked how it from different points of view, and I was like, oh, I have the perfect book for you. And then I didn't, but now I do. What I should have done, I should have written which kid's name on this list when I wrote the book down, because I have this book, but I can't remember which kid, which is fine. I'm sure there will be lots of kids who will be interested in this book. I love this book so much. If you haven't read Save Me a Seat, you should check it out. It's awesome. Next up, Red. My kids love Rump. I believe it was their 3rd grade teacher read aloud Rump. They also love the other books in the series that they read. There's also Jack and Grump. And same thing. I wanted, a kid was talking about how they read Rump, and they had read also Grump. And I'm like, oh, you should read Red. Couldn't find it. So Red completes the series in our classroom. I love these fractured fairy tales. So good. Next up is Sunny Side Up and Swing It Sunny. I couldn't find these books in my classroom. Like, these are so popular, so wonderful, and we don't have them anymore, and you're gonna find that happens. I'm sure if you've been in the classroom library for very long, some of the popular titles go missing, and we wanted to make sure we had the first 2 books in the series and then make sure we have the other books in the series because this is so good. We were missing it. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. If let me know if you're still watching in the comments, what is a book that you find that you have to repurchase because it falls apart like my Land of Stories, or it disappears like my Sunny Side Up, or kids just read it so much that it falls apart on the yearly, right? Like, I'm sure many of us have bought Smile by Raina Telgemeier like every single year. So let me know in the comments, which book do you find they have to keep purchasing and keep purchasing and keep purchasing? The One and Only Bob, I somehow made it through this entire school year without a nice, beautiful finished copy of The One and Only Bob. Sad. And my kids have been borrowing it from other places, but like, how can you have a classroom library as one of the biggest fans of The One and Only Ivan, which I am, and not have the sequel, The One and Only Bob? I think part of the reason is last year when the pandemic hit, we were reading aloud The One and Only Bob, and we didn't get a chance to finish it. So this book, just seeing the cover makes me sad and makes me mourn the loss of that time with last year's readers. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to think. And actually, I made a video about this. I've never finished this book because I just felt like if I couldn't finish it with my students, I didn't ever want to finish it, which probably isn't a great reason, but it's just too hard. Not there yet. Next up, The Wild Robot and The Wild Robot Escapes. I saw that there's going to be a 3rd book in the series. I'm so excited to spend more time with Roz. So I was like, I need some new, I need to repurchase these. I need to make sure we have multiple copies of these because I'm sure when that 3rd book comes out that the kids are gonna wanna read that. And I know that this year's 5th graders that I have, their teacher last year read it aloud, so it's very popular. And I'm sure they might want to revisit it. And also, I'm gonna have to figure out if it was read aloud this year. I don't know if you do that, but I always try to figure out when the year's about to start, what books the previous year's teachers read to my students. It just helps me make sure I have the next books in the series, make sure that I don't try to read that book aloud, and that sort of thing. So these books are so good. Next up, The President of the Whole 5th Grade. I like books that are like the grade, right? Like Tales of a 4th Grade Nothing. I just love that kind of stuff. Like books that are like set in a year, 3rd grade angels. And I thought, this might be a fun one. The President of the Whole 5th Grade. I know that there's also a President of the Whole 6th Grade. And I haven't actually read this one, but I was looking for some books. I think I was actually Googling 5th grade books, just always seeing if maybe there's something I missed, and I didn't have this. So I might read this summer, and might be a fun one to book talk in the fall. And a few more. Sharon Draper, Blended. I haven't had this book all year. I don't know where it went. Maybe a couple years since I've had it, but I remember reading it, loving it, and then I remember kids devouring it. The kids that I book talked it and that it sounded good to them, I remember they absolutely loved it. And I have a couple kids in my class this year that I think this is a really great book for them. So Blended, so good. Sharon Draper, always a winner. Black Brother. Same thing, Jewel Parker wrote. Same thing in terms of I haven't had this book in my classroom library this year for whatever reason, but I have some kids in my class that I think would really love this book. So I figured I better get it into their hands before I run out of time. If you haven't read this book, oh my gosh, this will blow your mind. Black Brother. And then finally, just like with Sunny Side Up, I had Best Friends, but I did not have Real Friends. And then the 3rd book in this series is coming out as we go back to school next fall. So I wanted to make sure that I had Real Friends. So these are the books that I purchased from my classroom library. Not gonna lie, this list that I keep at my desk is super helpful. What I will probably do is I will go, when I purchase like a bunch of books, sometimes I might just buy like one at a time if that works out for my budget. But after going through something like this, what I'll do is I'll highlight the ones I got, cross off the ones that I don't want, and then start a fresh list. so that it's has a little more room to add things to it. So these are the books that I added in my classroom library with $150 that I got from my district. Thank you, district. And thank you for tuning in. I hope that your school year is going well. Thank you again for all that you do for kids. My name is Colby Sharp. Thanks for tuning in.